Welcome back to another episode of The Conscious Artist, a safe space for conversations around mental health awareness for musicians, artists, and all human beings. I am your host, Pallavi Mahidhara. I'm a concert pianist and teacher, and I am absolutely thrilled that you are joining us today. My hope for this show is that it will give all of us a sense of solidarity and knowledge that we are not alone, and together, through these conversations, we can create more awareness and change for a healthier future. Today is a very special episode. 1 year ago, I launched The Conscious Artist in the hope of bringing a sense of peace and solidarity to my fellow artists, in the hope of helping others to feel less alone, to feel seen and heard. And without even realizing it, this podcast became a healing project for me too. It helped me to build a community that I didn't know I desired and needed. It has allowed me to talk to so many incredible people around the world, many of whom I've never even met in person, and yet, through our conversations here, I feel so deeply connected with them. 2022 did not close out so well for me. I ended the year with a big family tragedy. My 18-year-old cousin left this earth very suddenly and far too soon. A little over a year ago, I lost my best friend from high school, and 2 years ago, my life changed completely. So the winter holidays aren't exactly the easiest time of year for me, and this year, grief hit anew and hard. I also got COVID in the second to last week of December and was extremely sick for days. As someone who hasn't gotten a cold since 2019 and is generally very healthy, it was a clear sign for me that I was completely burnt out and my body was just shutting down. In fact, I had to cancel 2 concerts last week because I was so sick. I know I made the right decision doing this to give my body time to heal and rest, but it was a very difficult decision to make. And in trying to deal with all of this grief, sadness, illness, being burnt out, I have been trying to find gratitude for the things I still have in my life, for all the wonderful things that have happened this year, and for everything I'm looking forward to in 2023. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my guests so far since season 1 who have been here on the podcast, sharing their stories and their vulnerability with us. A big thank you to my family and my friends for all of their constant love and encouragement. And to all of you that support each other and me by tuning in and listening each week. I love this community that we are building, and I can't wait to see how this podcast keeps evolving and growing. So on the 1-year anniversary of this podcast, I thought it would be fitting to do a solo episode on a topic that is very important to me: loneliness versus solitude. It is something that I've only truly explored in the last few years, trying to understand what the difference is between these two words. And it's interesting because in English, we have 2 different words to distinguish feeling lonely versus being alone in a content and peaceful way. But in many other languages, there's only one word to describe both. And I think the difference between the 2 words is so stark and so important to understand for ourselves. And so for that reason, I felt the desire to do an episode on this topic. I also thought it was quite fitting to do a solo episode instead of a conversation with a guest, 1, because of the topic, and 2, because musicians spend a lot of time alone, especially pianists. We spend so much of our time alone practicing, performing, traveling, and honestly, that can get very lonely. And learning to find my own solitude has been a saving grace. So, what is it that makes us feel lonely? Is it when we feel left out? Is it FOMO, the fear of missing out? Is it when we feel like we don't belong somewhere? Is it when we feel that we are not included? Is it when we feel like we can't relate to something or someone around us? Is it when we feel like we don't have a community around us? Is it all of those things? Something I learned the hard way is that one of the most painful feelings in the world, at least for me, is to feel lonely while you're with someone else. It could be physically in the presence of someone else and feel like you're being ignored. Perhaps if that person gives you the silent treatment, or maybe they don't know how to cope with their own emotions, so they shut down instead of being able to communicate. Or maybe you're in a relationship with someone and you feel that that person isn't truly present with you, that they're not really there. And I don't just mean that they're tired or busy on their phone. I mean they're checked out. and you feel that emptiness sitting inside of you, and you can't figure out why you feel that way. So it's been a really interesting journey for me, discovering that a lot of my feelings of loneliness in the past were linked with my own inability to fill that inner void. I think I spent most of my life trying to fill my inner void with external things, with people, accomplishments, partners, friendships, external validation. And only lately, in the past few years, have I started to learn what it means to fill my own glass, to fill that void from within, to connect deeply with myself, to find what recharges my own battery without having to borrow someone else's charger. It has shown me the path from loneliness to solitude. It has led me to understand what actually brings me peace and stability. And part of that is being able to connect with myself, not by myself, with myself, spending quality time with myself, recharging my own batteries. It's funny, I learned a new word in 2022 that very aptly describes my personality. It's called ambivert, which many of you might know is an extroverted introvert. And this is someone who is energized by certain people and certain types of social interactions and drained by others. As a self-proclaimed extroverted introvert or ambivert, I definitely need at least 1 or 2 hours a day alone to recharge my batteries in order to have a healthy connection with myself. Because if not, if my energy is just going outwards all the time, giving and taking care of other people or communicating with other people, playing music, performing, teaching, working with colleagues, all the things that I love. But if my energy is just going outwards all the time, then I'm draining myself without refilling. And sometimes I might not have the opportunity to have that alone time on a daily basis. Maybe I'm traveling and I've got concerts, or I'm on a tour and I'm with people all the time. Then I have to find those ways to get that quick battery pack recharge that gets me up to 30-40%. And sometimes that's, talking to my sister or my parents or my best friends. Sometimes that's with the performances that I give. Because when I perform, I'm giving 100%, yes, but I'm also receiving so much from the music itself and from the intangible energy in the hall and from the audience, from my colleagues. It's a reciprocal event, but it is only a temporary solution. And I have found that when I spend time with the people that I care about deeply, that I connect with, that see me, that support me unconditionally, I feel energized by their presence in the conversations. Now, of course, everything I've said is just relevant for me personally, and this is not how everyone feels. But at least for me, I have learned how important it is to have time with myself in order to feel recharged and fresh. You know that age-old saying that we hear on the airplane, put your own oxygen mask before helping others. I always used to think that was super selfish. I grew up with this mentality that you must always help others before you help yourself. And it's only now that I've learned to understand what that truly means. If you help yourself, you can show up so much better for others. You can show up as your best self for others. And then you can help fill other people's cups if they need a little top up. But if you fill from your cup into others and you keep nothing for yourself, then you're drained and you're empty. Recently, one of my best friends said to me, Pallavi, I think it's great how much time you spend working on yourself and spending time with yourself, but I wonder if maybe now you're spending too much time alone. Maybe it's important for you to see people more often. She said this in the midst of me having what was probably an unnecessary anxiety spiral. And of course, as many of us with anxiety know, we don't know when it's going to decide to creep up, but we can choose how we try to deal with it, hopefully in a healthy way. And so she said this to me, I think you spend too much time alone. It gives you too much time with your thoughts, and maybe it will help you to have more social interactions. And of course, I see people. I'm not a hermit. I do see people. I have social plans. I see my friends. But sometimes I will go a few days without seeing anyone because I do live alone. And I don't know, let's say the weather's bad or I'm just very tired. Or last week when I had COVID, I didn't see anyone for 10 days. And in those days, of course, I'm interacting with people digitally. I'm talking to my family. I'm talking to my friends on WhatsApp, on FaceTime, connecting with people on Instagram. But then my energy is going into a technological device. It's a one-sided vacuum rather than having an energy exchange with someone. And this has been very interesting for me to realize. My friend suggested that maybe I go sit and edit my podcast episodes in a cafe once in a while, simply to have some light, casual human interaction and energy exchange. And probably to the non-musician, this is quite normal, right? A lot of people, especially those that work remotely or have started to work remotely, might choose to work in a shared workspace or in a coffee shop. But to the musician, sitting and doing work in a cafe is nearly impossible unless, I don't know, maybe you're a composer, a conductor, or you're score studying. I remember when I was creating the structure and planning out the episodes for season 1 of this podcast, I went to work in my favorite coffee and bookshop in Madrid. And first of all, not only did I feel super cool that I was doing something that quote unquote normal people do, i.e. non-musicians, but I felt so incredibly productive and motivated. It was fascinating for me to observe. And it's interesting that when I do spend too much time alone, I can go into the shadow side of it. I guess that saying is true. Moderation is key. Moderation is key for everything in life. Too much of anything can be unhealthy. Too much of spending time with others and not enough time with yourself can allow for a lack of connection with oneself. But too much time spent alone can allow one to get stuck in their thoughts, and especially for an overthinker like me, someone who is constantly thinking of what to improve, what can I work on, how can I do better in this aspect of my life, how can I be a better human? But I also get stuck in the negative side of overthinking. What if this happens? What if that happens? And I've said this many times. I'm going to hold myself accountable here because I've said this many times on this podcast and to myself that I've removed the phrase, what if, from my vocabulary in the last year or two. I don't say, what if this happens or what if that happens anymore. I've tried to change my mindset to, even if this or that happens, I know I'll be okay. And while in theory, not using the words what if should have removed those thoughts, of course that hasn't happened. And I notice those thoughts coming and creeping up when I least expect them, and that's when my anxiety kicks in. And so, reflecting on what my friend said to me, I realized that I do have a tendency to get stuck in the self-improvement cycle. It's the perfectionist side of me, which I pretend doesn't exist anymore, but let's be real, it's still there, and it takes over even in and especially in the self-improvement state of mind. I mean, come on, let's give inner self-work a break once in a while. Healing is never finished. Progress is never finished. Improvement is never finished. And that's the beauty of it. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to grow from. But that doesn't mean that we have to be working on ourselves every second of every day. And I think lately I've just been taking myself way too seriously, taking life too seriously. And yes, the last couple years have been the hardest of my life, but they've also been the most growth-filled years of my life so far. And I was talking to my therapist the other day and I was telling her how I had this epiphany a few weeks ago that I just want to let go and start having more fun, that I'm taking everything too seriously. And then life and reality kicked in and the death of my cousin came, COVID came, everything crashed down at once. And in that moment, she reminded me that we have to choose joy. We have to choose happiness. Joy and happiness and living life to the fullest, these are choices. They don't just happen. Life happens. And I've said this before, it's not the difficulties that we face in life that are important, but how we deal with them. And so, although I don't love New Year's resolutions, because I always feel like if there's something that we really want to change, why are we waiting for the new year to change it? If there's something we truly want to change, let's change it now. I don't know, maybe it sounds more romantic to say it's a New Year's resolution, but I think if we're being honest with ourselves, many of us think about our resolutions for a week, a few weeks, a month, and then we forget about it. So I say, if we really want to make a change in a habit or practice in our lives, let's start the first time we think about it. With that being said, I will jump on the New Year's resolution bandwagon for a moment, just because today is January 2nd, and it's the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. I launched The Conscious Artist 1 year ago on Monday, January 3rd, 2022. I can't believe it's been a whole year, and it's been such an amazing healing project for me. I hope this podcast has been able to provide some comfort and solace to many of you out there listening. On this 1-year anniversary, I want to share with all of you my resolutions for 2023. I have many goals this year, and I'm very proud of myself for having learned to be at peace in my solitude in 2022. And now, my main priority for 2023 is just to have more fun, to not take myself too seriously, to not take life too seriously, even when life comes and surprises us with the good and the bad. You know that whole concept of going with the flow? I always see these videos and memes on Instagram that say, yes, I like going with the flow, but what time does the flow start? And that always makes me laugh because that is totally me, 100%. But I really want to try. I want to try to feel more and think less, to trust my intuition more and worry less, to accept whatever comes to come and allow whatever goes to go, to have a little bit of faith that everything will be okay, to trust in myself, in my strength, my perseverance, my resilience, in the universe, to trust my healing, to let go, and to just have fun. I cannot express my gratitude enough for the support and the community that I feel with all of you listening. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening. And today, go have some fun. I wish all of you the happiest of New Year's. I wish you all so much joy, healing, love, strength, compassion, kindness, and light for 2023.
Thank you all so much for listening. I am truly grateful for the support from each and every one of you. If you would like to submit any questions or topics for us to address on the show, you can send us a message on our Instagram page at Conscious Artist Podcast. Help us to spread more awareness by sharing this episode with your friends, your colleagues, your teachers, and your students. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Sending you all so much love and strength to tackle this week, and we'll see you next Monday for another episode of The Conscious Artist.